Today, Yamaha updated their long-distance variant of their Tenere 700 adventure bike, the World Raid, for 2026 with a whole bunch of tweaks all across the bike. So in this video, we'll go through all of the key details with everything that you need to know about it. The engine is relatively unchanged. It's the same 689cc twin that makes about 72 horsepower peak and 68 Nm of peak torque again. It does now, however, meet the latest Euro 5 Plus emissions regulations owing to a couple of changes, and there's a redesigned air intake that's said to boost low RPM torque for better performance when it comes to tricky off-road stuff. For me though, the main improvement here is that the new T7 World Raid gets a ride-by-wire electronic throttle as opposed to the more traditional cable throttle of previous generations. This is a common theme across most of the bikes in the Yamaha lineup that use the same CP2 parallel twin engine, with many of them getting the same update over the past couple of years. And so it's no big surprise to see it here, but it does open up a few modern features that were perhaps kind of lacking. Firstly, you now get riding modes with Sport for what they call dynamic power delivery on spirited road rides, but also Explorer, which is said to give a smoother throttle response, which they say will be especially useful for low grip off-road sections or wet surfaces. As a result, there's a new design for the switchgear, which includes a mode button on the right, and so there's an easy way to get between the modes quickly, provided the throttle is closed. On top of that though, the ride-by-wire throttle has allowed Yamaha to introduce traction control, another handy safety measure for particularly tough conditions. These updates did come to the base Tenere 700 last year, but it is a first for the World Raid, which stands apart for its big 23-litre tank amongst other advantages. What's specific to this update though is that the World Raid actually gets an IMU or inertial measurement unit, which means that lean angles are fed into the rider aids so that they can intervene more appropriately and in a more nuanced way when the bike is banked over. So that means cornering sensitive traction control as opposed to the regular TC of the standard bike, and it also feeds into their SCS or slide control system, which allows you to power slide the rear without it getting completely out of check. Now, specifically for these two rider aids, you can choose from 3 modes for each of them, with street, off-road and off, so there should be an extra level of support for newer riders in difficult conditions, but also the option to completely disable them for the more advanced rider who knows what they're doing, or at least thinks they do. Now, the IMU also contributes to lean-sensitive ABS, which, like the standard T7, is controlled with its own dedicated button in the cockpit. With ABS on, for the World Raid, you've got their brake control system kicking in, which gives you that cornering sensitivity, but then you've also got the rear off mode for back-end slides, or completely off for full control. They say on top of that, you've also got better power and consistency on the brakes for 2026 as well, with new steel-braided hoses running to the front Brembo calipers, which bite down on twin 282mm discs. Lastly, on the electronics front, another improvement that comes as a result of that ride-by-wire throttle is the ability to fit cruise control, which has been added as standard along with a speed limiter feature. Given the dual tanks that give this bike a potential range of around 500 kilometers or just over 300 miles if you ride steady, well, cruise control is definitely a very welcome addition in my opinion. Speaking of that big 23-litre dual fuel tank design, well, it is largely the same, with the same benefits of holding the fuel low and preventing some sloshing, but they have managed to cut 1.5 kilograms out versus the previous generation while still maintaining that same impressive capacity figure. On top of that, they've also tweaked the ergonomics of it with a new shape that blends smoothly into the one-piece rally-style seat, and they say this improves the rider's freedom of movement, especially when it comes to transitioning between sitting and standing. Another sensible tweak to the ergonomics as well, which is inherited from the base T7, is a new slimmer clutch cover that gets less in the way of the rider's right leg when standing up. Then, the windscreen is also said to be new and improved for better comfort at speed, along with some removable side deflectors for a bit of extra coverage when needed. Riding at night has also been considered with a new LED headlight assembly that they say offers excellent performance in both high and low beam, and there's now an easier to use height adjuster with a single screw located just under under the TFT dash. So lots of comfort tweaks, but what about performance? Well, one of the things I loved about the previous generation was the superior KYB suspension versus the standard Tenere that gave it a real boost in terms of ride quality and control, especially when riding off-road, along with 20mm more travel, allowing for a healthy 255mm of ground clearance. It really can give you a lot of confidence off-road, even if you're not the best rider. But for 2026, they say the suspension is better still, with full adjustability and offering even better control and comfort off-road. They also say there's improved bump absorption when it comes to bad surfaces on the road, like potholes. And part of this improvement from a technical perspective comes down to the new 46mm inner tubes, which are bigger than the 43mm of the previous gen. Then you've got a Kashima coating that minimizes friction, new spring and damping specs, less risk of bottoming out, and a new preload adjuster located on the fork cap. Then, at the rear, you've got an improved shock as well, with more stroke by 5mm, along with a redesigned arm relay and a redesigned connecting rod. So like I say, the previous gen I thought was genuinely very good off-road, and so I'm looking forward to testing this one out and seeing if all these little improvements add up to an even better Tenere 700 World Raid. The chassis changes aren't just limited to suspension tweaks though, with improvements to the frame itself, with less weight and also optimized strength and rigidity. Yamaha claimed though in the press release that this contributes towards reducing the machine's overall weight, and I say that in their own words. But on checking that, I'm seeing the same 220kg wet weight on the spec sheet as the previous generation, which is by no means a bad weight figure, but not necessarily an improvement year over year. Still, you do get some nice sensible improvements though from a practical perspective, with a strengthened exhaust bracket and strengthened luggage mounting bosses, and also an improvement to the side stand switch to make it more robust as well, which was, along with the exhaust bracket, a noted weak point of previous generations. Still no bolt-on subframe though, which I know is a bit of a gripe for some T7 owners who do like to push harder off-road, where damage in the welded subframe would require more substantial repair work if it came to it. In the cockpit though, we've got the same 6.3-inch color TFT dash that the other Teneres were updated with last year, which I did find very pleasant to use and easy to read on review. It gets 3 themes as well, so Street, Explorer and Raid, with each prioritizing the key information for that particular riding discipline. Take Raid for example, that gets 2 prominent trip meters in a bit of a roadbook inspired design. On top of that, you've got connectivity for calls, messages, email and music, along with navigation if you hook it up to the Yamaha MyRide app. And the new switchgear that I've mentioned includes a new joystick for easy navigation, which was another strong point that I found from reviewing the standard bike, so nice to see it all carried over here. Lastly, you've now got a USB-C port up there as well, and so ideal for keeping your phone or other accessories juiced up on longer rides. As usual, we've got plenty of accessories to get stuck into as well, like lowering kits that include seats and linkages, crash protection in various forms, and also a new up and down quick shifter. They say there are over 60 to choose from, which might look a little bit overwhelming, but they have grouped some of them into packs to make it a little easier to get your head around. As for paint, well, for 2026 this one comes in 2 colors now. They've dropped the blue, but there is this red line white, which I think you see in most of these pictures, and I think it looks great. Or there's a midnight black if you prefer that meaner aesthetic, and I do rather like the pops of gold on the wheels, fork and graphics. Bikes should be in dealers from March 2026 here in the UK, and although we've no price yet, I believe it's coming at Motorcycle Live in a couple of weeks, and I'd expect a smidge more than the 12-ish grand of the 2025 version. As always, I'd love to know what you think of this bike, so do let me know down in the comments below, and I'll put my review of the 2025 T7 on the screen now, which I shot earlier this year, as a lot of the electronic updates are the same, so you can get a bit of a feel for them before I get to review this one. Do hit subscribe for more of the latest motorcycle news and reviews like this right here on MOTOBOB. A massive thanks for watching today, and we'll catch you in the next video.